What if events went differently in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2? Imagine an alternate scenario where the Carnage symbiote appeared. What if Carnage was in Spider-Man 2? Oh, welcome back, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, to another brand new exciting episode. My name is Max Charlebois, aka Miss Lapart, and we post a ton of different what if scenarios on this channel. And if you guys are new here, I would highly recommend that you guys go subscribe, like the video, and even check out some of the different things that we have, such as Patreon, and maybe even, join the YouTube community if you feel. But that being said, this scenario has been requested for quite some time with such a little audience. Like, I've seen it and I hear you, and I know that this is an episode that a lot of you guys have really wanted for years. And so for me to deliver this to you, I am very excited. But that being said, let's stop waiting around and let's get into the brand new What If episode. The night sky split apart. A fiery streak ripped across the atmosphere, crashing down somewhere beyond the city. A meteor, a failed re-entry. No one in New York noticed. Not yet. But at the edge of a darkened airfield, security teams rushed toward the wreckage of the crashed shuttle. Flames engulfed the area, reflecting in the stunned, horrified eyes of Colonel John Jameson. He was the only survivor. His flight suit was torn, stained with blood, his breathing ragged, and clinging to his chest, pulsating like a living wound, was something red, something that moved. The first paramedic reached him, kneeling. "Colonel Jameson, can you hear me? You're safe now." John's eyes snapped open, wide, almost feral, and then, for the first time, Carnage spoke. "Safe?" The paramedic barely had time to scream. The red tendrils erupted, wrapping around him, twisting, tearing, and as the flames consumed the wreckage, the shape standing at the center of it all was no longer John Jameson. It was something else. It was Carnage. Meanwhile, across the city, Peter Parker's life continued to fall apart. Balancing college work and crime fighting had stretched him beyond his limits. His grades? Terrible. His job at Joe's Pizza? Fired. His rent? Overdue. And worst of all, his powers were failing. Swinging across the city that night, he felt it again. The sharp tug in his chest. The momentary flicker of weakness. His web shooters jammed mid-swing. His instincts slowed. He crashed into a rooftop, rolling hard. His mask cracked from the impact. Peter lay there, staring up at the city lights. What was happening to him? Was it stress, exhaustion, or something worse? 2 days later, the bodies started appearing. First, a homeless man found torn apart in an alley, the walls painted with something dark and organic. Then, a subway station. Passengers ripped from the train, their remains strewn across the platform. Then, a police station. Half the officers butchered before they could react. The survivors kept saying the same thing. A man, but not a man. A monster with red tendrils, laughing as he killed. New York panicked. J. Jonah Jameson declared war on the Bugle. Spider-Man's greatest failure. A new menace terrorizes New York. Peter read the headlines, his stomach twisting. Even if he wanted to stop this thing, he couldn't. His powers were gone. Meanwhile, across the city, inside Ravencroft Institute, the guards prepared to transfer one of their most dangerous inmates, Cletus Cassidy, a serial killer unlike any the city had ever seen. A man who claimed he was waiting for something, for someone. 2 guards unlocked his cell, their tasers ready. "You're being moved to a high-security unit, Cassidy. On your feet." Cletus sat on the floor, humming to himself. He looked up, smiling. "Oh, boys, I got a better idea." The lights flickered. The room grew cold. Then, from the vents, from the walls, it came. A red substance slithered into the cell, twisting toward Cletus like a lover's embrace. The guards froze in horror. Oh, he finally found me. Cletus's eyes turned black, his mouth stretched into something inhuman. The Carnage symbiote wrapped around him, fully bonding for the first time. And in the next second, the walls of Ravencroft ran red. Cassidy tore through the prison like a demon, leaving nothing but carnage behind. The last security camera footage caught a glimpse of his grinning, monstrous face before the feed cut to static. Carnage was free, and New York was his playground. As Peter tried to navigate his collapsing life, another shadow rose from the past. Otto Octavius, thought dead after his failed experiment, resurfaced in the underground. His mechanical arms twitched, their AI whispering, feeding his obsession. Build it again. Make it bigger. Otto's mind, already fractured, was consumed by his mission. But when he heard about Carnage, something inside him shifted. This wasn't just some criminal. This was something worse. Chaos. Otto was not a monster. He was a scientist, a visionary. And if Carnage threatened his future, then there was only one solution. They had to kill each other. The city was bleeding. Carnage had declared himself the new ruler of New York. Doctor Octopus prepared to reclaim his throne. And in the middle of it all, Peter Parker stood, alone. His powers were gone. His city was crumbling. And for the first time in his life, he wasn't sure if he could fix it. As he walked down the empty streets, a newspaper tumbled by. The headline read, "Where is Spider-Man?" Peter stopped, looked up at his reflection in a shop window, and for the first time, he didn't see Spider-Man anymore, just Peter Parker. Weak, lost, and powerless. New York was on fire, not from flames, but from fear. In just a few days, the Carnage killings had turned the city into a battleground of paranoia and terror, and the Daily Bugle was making it worse. Inside his office, J. Jonah Jameson slammed a front-page newspaper onto his desk. The headline, printed in bold, accusing letters, read, Robbie Robertson, standing across from him, shook his head. "You really think Parker's behind this?" Jonah leaned forward, lighting a cigar with shaking fingers. "Look at the evidence, Robbie." He exhaled smoke. A monster appears, tearing through the city. Looks just like Spider-Man. Moves just like Spider-Man. He stabbed a finger at the picture of Carnage, mid-rampage, a blood-red blur swinging through the streets. And where's our beloved wall crawler, huh? Gone. Vanished, like he's hiding something. Betty Brant glanced up from her desk. Or maybe he's just gone? Jonah ignored her. He turned to his assistant. "Get me an emergency radio bulletin. The city deserves to know the truth." A moment later, Jonah's voice echoed across New York. "Spider-Man, the hero you all trusted, is a fraud, a murderer. How long will we let him slaughter our people before someone stops him?" Peter Parker, walking through the rain-drenched streets, stopped in front of a newsstand. He stared at the front page, his own face printed beneath the Carnage headline. His stomach twisted. The city had turned against him. Peter sat alone in his small, crumbling apartment, staring at his torn Spider-Man suit. His hands trembled. He had tried so hard to be their hero, but his powers were failing. His city hated him. And somewhere out there, a monster was wearing his face. The police, the media, the public, they all wanted Spider-Man dead, and for the first time in his life. Peter wondered if they were right. He reached for the suit, paused. Then he dropped it. Peter Parker was no longer Spider-Man. Not tonight. While Peter struggled, two monsters fought for control of New York. Deep within an abandoned warehouse, Carnage crouched atop a pile of corpses, grinning wildly. Across from him, standing between the shattered machinery, was Doctor Octopus. His mechanical tentacles twitched, their red glowing eyes locked onto the symbiote. "You're inefficient," Otto muttered, analyzing Carnage's erratic, twitching movements. "And you are boring." Carnage licked his teeth. Doc Ock's eyes narrowed. "What do you want, freak?" Carnage tilted his head. "Wanna guess? Starts with ick, ends with Arnage." Otto sighed. "Typical brute." He raised a tentacle, striking first. Carnage dodged, twisting his body unnaturally to avoid the metal arm. Then he lunged. The battle was pure chaos. Doc Ock fought with strategy, predicting movements, using the environment to his advantage. Carnage fought like an animal, moving in impossible ways, striking with savage, unpredictable force. Ock managed to trap Carnage momentarily, only for the symbiote to liquefy, slipping free. Carnage nearly tore one of Ock's arms off, but Ock used another tentacle to blast him away. In the end, neither won. Both were too powerful, too dangerous, and so for now they parted ways. But the message was clear. Only one of them would rule this city. Meanwhile, Mary Jane Watson sat in her apartment, staring at a photo of John Jameson, her fiancé, a man who should have been here, but he wasn't. The news reported that he had vanished after the crash, but MJ knew the truth. Something happened to him. Something terrible. Then, a knock at the door. MJ hesitated, opened it, and standing in the hallway, eyes burning red, was John. Or what was left of him. His face twisted into something unnatural. His voice warped, layered, wrong. "Miss me?" MJ stumbled backward, fear choking her. "John?" Carnage grinned, half right. Then, he lunged. Mary Jane screamed, barely dodging as Carnage ripped through her apartment. She ran, her heart pounding, and out the fire escape and down the alley. Carnage stalked her, laughing. "Run, run, run, little bird." He was faster, stronger. This wasn't a chase, this was a game. And then, webbing shot out from the darkness. Carnage jerked to a stop, tangled in the sudden trap. He turned, his eyes narrowing. Above him, crouched on the rooftop, was Peter Parker, in full costume, his breath ragged, his hands shaking. But he was back. Spider-Man had returned. Carnage ripped free from the webbing, his grin widening. "Oh, there you are." Peter's heart pounded. This wasn't just another villain. This thing was pure death. He had no idea how to fight it, but he didn't care. He swung forward, and the fight exploded. Carnage moved too fast, too unpredictable. Peter barely dodged his bladed tendrils. Carnage laughed through the whole fight, enjoying every second. Peter fought smart, using his webbing to restrict Carnage's movements. For a moment, it seemed like he could win, until Carnage slammed him through a car. Peter, injured, barely managed to escape. Carnage didn't chase, he just grinned. "See you soon, Spidey." Back in his apartment, Peter sat in front of his cracked mirror. His face was bruised, his mask was torn. For the first time in his life, he was truly afraid. He wasn't sure if he could beat this thing, and worse, he wasn't sure if he would survive. As the city screamed for Spider-Man's head, as Carnage slaughtered more people, as Doctor Octopus prepared for war, Peter stared at himself, and he whispered, "What if I'm not enough?" New York was at war. The streets were littered with wreckage, police sirens, and blood-stained walls. Carnage ruled the night, his presence turning the city into a living nightmare. Dr. Octopus had gone underground preparing his final experiment. And Spider-Man? He was barely standing. His body ached, his suit torn beyond recognition. But he knew. Tonight, it ends. One way or another. Inside a dilapidated Oscorp laboratory, Otto Octavius stood before his masterpiece, the *** fusion reactor. The very one that had nearly destroyed New York was back online. This time I will make it work." His tentacles whispered to him, urging him forward. "You must control it. You must become more..." Otto's eyes flickered with madness. "Yes, I will control it." But before he could begin the final sequence, a tendril of blood-red symbiote slithered into the room. Otto turned and saw him. Carnage. Perched atop the metal framework, his elongated jaw twisted into a smile. "Ooh, shiny. Mind if I borrow it?" Otto narrowed his eyes. "You are an insect. A mistake. You lack control." Carnage laughed. "And you lack imagination." Then he attacked. The fight was unlike anything the city had ever seen. Otto used his intelligence and tentacle strength, trying to predict Carnage's movements. Carnage fought like a rabid animal, shifting, twisting, striking from impossible angles. Carnage's tendrils wrapped around Otto's mechanical arms, fusing with them. Otto's mind fought back, trying to resist, but the symbiote began to consume him. Then, something horrifying happened. Carnage's body melted into Otto's mechanical tentacles. The tentacles screamed, alive, mutating, changing. Otto collapsed, gasping. Then he stood, and when he did, he was no longer Doctor Octopus. He was Monsterok. New York shook as the transformation completed. Standing at the center of the lab, twice the size of Otto's original form, was a nightmare-given flesh. His tentacles, no longer metal, but living, writhing creatures of red and black. His voice, a fusion of Otto's intellect and Carnage's insanity. Power, I am power. The fusion reactor overloaded, sending waves of energy cracking through the streets. And from above, Spider-Man arrived. Peter swung in, his heart pounding. He had faced monsters before, but this was hell. Monsterok lunged. His new symbiotic tentacles lashed out, tearing apart buildings as he moved. Peter dodged, barely escaping the first strike. The fight tore through the city, smashing through cars, walls, and entire buildings. Peter webbed up a tentacle, only for it to snap back and nearly crush him. This wasn't Otto. This wasn't Carnage. This was something worse. Monsterok grabbed Peter midair, slamming him through a skyscraper window. Peter gasped, coughing blood. Monsterok loomed over him. "You were never strong enough, Parker. You always held back. I never will." Peter clenched his fists. "That's why you'll lose." Then he fought back. Peter used every last ounce of strength. He webbed Monsterok's arms together, using leverage to throw him into the fusion reactor. Monsterok roared, the energy pulling him apart, piece by piece. Carnage's voice screamed in rage. "No, this was supposed to be our world." Peter, exhausted, stood at the edge of the collapsing structure. Otto, for just a moment, regained control. His human eyes returned. "Parker, it's over." Then he let go. The fusion reactor imploded, consuming them both. Carnage was no more. Dr. Octopus was no more, and the city was safe. Peter stumbled into an alley, barely able to breathe. His mask was torn. His hands shook. He had won, but at what cost? He looked up. The city still hated him. The Daily Bugle still blamed him. The people still feared him. He had saved New York, but no one would ever know. Then he collapsed. The last thing he saw before everything faded to black was a single drop of red slithering toward him. Somewhere in the ruins of the reactor, something moved. Something small, almost insignificant. A single piece of Carnage still alive. It slithered forward toward a motionless figure, Peter Parker. It crawled onto his hand, and then his fingers twitched. His eyes snapped open, only this time, they weren't his eyes anymore. And that is going to be it for What If Carnage was in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Now, what do you think would have happened? Do you guys think that this scenario would have happened? And if not, how do you think it should have played out? But that being said, I am very thankful for this episode to finally release, because there was an episode where I did What If Carnage was in Spider-Man 3. I did that like 5 years ago. And so I really wanted to dive into this particular episode, mainly because I really love Doc Ock and Carnage within storylines, especially with Spider-Man 2000. I don't know if you guys know of that series, but it's my favorite Spider-Man video game. And every time, you put these two characters together, I think you just get magic. And so it might be such a random what if video, but it's something that I really wanted to do. And I mean, there's so many things that we could really dive into. Like, we could dive into, like, what if Carnage was in Spider-Man 2002? We could dive into what if Green Goblin was in The Amazing Spider-Man 1? I mean, there's so many different what if scenarios, and a lot of people, I think, don't realize that we have so many that we can choose from. So if there's specific villains that you want to see in a Spider-Man storyline, like maybe Electro in Homecoming, I mean, just let me know in the comments down below, and I would be happy to respond to that. But I do want to say, if you guys do have requests and you really want these videos to happen, there is a Patreon tier that you can work with me here at Miss the Part Productions, and there's 3 different tiers. The first tier, you can help me with making your idea happen. You could even get 5 ideas or 10 ideas with the different tiers. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, I would highly recommend that you click the link in the description down below, as in doing so, you're not only supporting me, but you're honestly supporting the people that work for Miss the Part. Like, you're supporting the artists, the video editors, a lot of the people that help make these productions happen, because although I do a lot of the video editing here on the channel, there's some days where I can't, and then there's days where I have to give it to somebody else, and I do want to give them a massive shout out for being amazing. But anyways, as always, I would highly recommend to check it out. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the brand new episode. Take care and have a wonderful day. Peace out.